Three, two, one. Live. All right, looks like we're live. How you doing, friends? Ernie here with the Zero-DTE podcast. And this is the companion podcast to the service, also by the same name, Zero-DTE. And that stands for the last day, zero being the last day of expiration for options on the S&P. So what does that mean? That means that that's what we do. We trade options. More specifically, we sell premium on the very last day of expiration on the S&P. Now, there are a number of ways you can do that. You can do that by trading options on the futures, S&P futures, like the E-mini, probably one of the most popularly traded assets in the world. Or you could also trade options on the SPX. However, the SPX has its issues, the biggest one being that it doesn't trade 24 hours a day like the E-mini does. However, that's all going to change November 21st when it will start trading then, and then the SPX will be squarely in our wheelhouse. You could also trade the SPY, but the SPY really doesn't have the same advantages as the other two. It's okay. But in any event, we take advantage of the extraordinary decay in premium on that very last day. And the really remarkable thing is that it's one of the very few options contracts that has an expiration 3 times a week. I mean, you've heard of weekly options, and those are pretty cool. You have at least 4 opportunities a month, sometimes 5, to trade a weekly option that expires at the end of the week. But the SPX, as well as the NDX, which we are looking at someday in the future also trading, but the SPX, the E-mini, the options on there, the S&P, has 3 contracts a week that expire on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, there are a number of services that are out there that are also practicing a type of strategy. I wouldn't say it's similar to ours. As a matter of fact, I would say it's kind of like the exact opposite of what we do. And the real differentiator there is that they trade with an extreme anxiety, with huge risks, seeking very, very small profit potential. What we do is trade with zero anxiety, with extreme small risk and very large profit potential. And it sounds like a no-brainer which way you'd want to go, and in fact it is. And that's because of that fact, many of the people that are trading in these other services are flocking to our service in droves. They all come to me and they say, Ernie, you know, your video connected with me when you were telling me about all that anxiety, those anxiety-ridden days, which are very often, by the way, almost every day that they trade, where they're biting their nails hoping that they don't stop out. Because as soon as they get into the trade, almost immediately they go underwater, which is something that we don't fear. And even if we do, we don't fear it because our profit is huge, potential, and our risk is very small. So it's an easy ride. We can trade literally 1/10 of the capital that they do and make as much or more profit. Now, which way would you rather trade? Would you rather trade anxiety-ridden for the potential of making a very small amount of profit, always in fear that you're going to hit a max loss and wipe out the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, or the last 2, 3, 4 weeks of profit if that's what you did? Or would you rather trade with zero anxiety, not a care in the world if you lose? I'm not saying you shouldn't care that you lose, but the pressure is all off on you, with the potential of making 100, 200%, 500%, 1,000%, no, 1,500% on your money. Now, like today, currently, let's see, we are up about, I would say, most people have taken profits already in the service, anywhere from 100% to 500%. But today has the potential for being one of those 700, 800, 900% days for sure. I know, that's crazy, isn't it? So anyways, now that I've told you about the service and the difference between what we do and what everybody else is doing. If you want to try it out, go to 0-DTE. Now, it's very important that you put that dash in there because there is another service that doesn't have a dash. And look, by all means, go try them out. Really. I seriously, go try them out. You'll be back. Don't worry. It's 0-DTE.com. Not 0DTE.com, but 0-DTE.com/try, TRY. And I'll give you a 4-week trial. And it will be like no other that you've ever seen. Now, first of all, we are not necessarily an alert service. Although we do provide alerts, the alerts go out there as a demonstration of our strategy and process and methodology. What we really are is a group of traders that are learning this strategy, learning the methodologies, learning the practices, and the process that we go through to become better traders, to trade a strategy that is extremely strong, that, in my view, is without a doubt, and I've been at this game for 40 years? I know that kind of ages me. It is the best strategy that I have seen, bar none, except for something that is unattainable by most of us, and that is a pure arbitrage like market makers. And most of us aren't going to pursue a career as a market maker. You can if you want, but that is a pure arbitrage with a guaranteed profit. You make money by trading the spread between markets, and your profit is actually that spread. Plus, you get a commission for adding liquidity. So there is a pure way of making profit in this world of trading, of day trading. The other way is to sell premium, and that's what we do. And there are a number of ways that you can do it. You can do it the hard way, the stupid way, like what most people do, or you could do it the smart way, the easy way. Now, I hesitate to call anything easy. Everything takes practice. And that's exactly what this service is about. And that's what this episode is about. It's all about that continuous improvement loop that we practice, the Kaizen. Now, you've probably heard that term before. Kaizen is a term of art that began a long time ago. It's actually been around for centuries, but it was made most popular right after World War II when Edward Deming went over to Japan after the war to help the Japanese improve their economy. And they ran with that and applied those principles of Kaizen, or good change, or continuous improvement, and created things like the Toyota manufacturing process and other processes like Kanban, which is another manufacturing process. And more recently these days into software practices that are often referred to as Agile, which are also now spilling over into management processes over the past decade and transforming the way we operate our companies. We practice a version of that. I happen to be a process expert. I'm actually a Scrum Master. Scrum is another of those technologies that's built around that. Certified Scrum Master. Been practicing Agile methodologies for more than 25 years. We take that and put that into this process as well. And it's a continuous improvement process where you take everything that you do and you break it down into small time-boxed things. And of course, day trading, in fact, is the ultimate time-boxed experiment. And we repeat what we do over and over again and then perform a retrospective around that process and all the things that we do and evaluate it, and then take the good things and feed them back in, and the bad things we chuck. Now, it's a little more involved than just that, obviously. But that is really what I'd say would differentiate us from just about any other service, besides the fact that our underlying philosophy and the technology and the methodologies that we use, which are largely based upon a lot of the work that has been done by Nassim Taleb and things like the Black Swan and Anti-Fragile and Fooled by Randomness and Skin in the Game, those ideas that involve asymmetry. And then we combine that with Kaizen, continuous improvement, where we're constantly improving. In fact, part of the service here is a weekly retrospective meeting that we hold on Saturdays where we go back and we review everything that's done for the week, what we did right, what we did badly or poorly, and what could we do to improve. And we use that as sort of a feedback loop and put it back into the process so that we're constantly getting better. When you come here and take our service, or you join us, become a member, you learn how to become continuously improving. So not only do you get the best strategy, you are led by a person, namely me, who has been in this industry doing this sort of thing, not only for traders, but also providing this kind of service and advice and mentorship and coaching for industry leaders. I was literally the coach to executives of Fortune 5s, Fortune 50s, Fortune 100s. And I provided that kind of mentality, that kind of process to help them make their businesses better and employ new strategies that can make them a more robust or anti-fragile company. So that's what I bring to this table and what you would benefit from by becoming part of our service. All right, so right now we are in a trade. Oh, by the way, there are a number of technologies that you're probably familiar with, and one in particular that we're using, and that I wouldn't even call it a technology, but it is, in fact. Volume profile is how we do our analysis. We don't. Here's another way that we differentiate ourselves. We don't use any traditional technical analysis. As a matter of fact, you will not just very rarely, you will never see someone using a moving average or a MACD or an RSI for fear that I will jump all over them and tell them what an idiot they are for falling for that crap. It's completely unnecessary. Completely. And anybody that tells you that technical analysis is a viable thing in trading absolutely doesn't know what they're talking about. And I know that I'll get castigated for this, but I've been in this industry long enough to understand the full background of technical analysis and how it was developed through the brokers. As a matter of fact, I helped push these types of educational services and technologies for the brokers into the industry at the dawn of the internet. Yep, that's how long I've been around. I was actually, by the time the internet came around, I had already been in industry for almost 20 years. All right. So anyways, that's what we do. We practice Kaizen, good change. And so that's another very important point. That all change is good. Change is in fact the one constant. I know that sounds like an oxymoronic statement, but change is the universal constant. That is the one thing that we can count on all the time, that nothing stays the same. Everything is impermanent. We are constantly in a flux, changing situations. And so the idea that you can have a strategy that is static, that you can apply like all these other zero DTE people are doing, is insane. That is, in fact, the definition of insane, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So change and embracing change and knowing how to embrace change by employing a process, a discipline around embracing that change and learning from it is really the only way to go. And our strategy and everything is built around that kind of idea. So, we have a question from Guy or Guy. He says, "What time of the day did you enter the trade?" That's a very good question. And this particular trade, we actually entered it last night. And we entered it while we were asleep. What you say, Ernie? What is this? Heresy, you say. You traded while you were asleep? Yes, we did. After the analysis, it became clear what the high probability trade was, what the low risk trade was, and that was a trade that we could enter sometime in the morning, the wee hours of the morning, but we weren't going to be awake for it. So we entered what's called a hanging order, a limit order. Let the market come down to us, pick it up, and then enter the trade. And then the trade was designed to take advantage of all the things that we do in terms of premium collection, and also coincident with the analysis that we had and where we thought price was going to go. And the trade itself, I think, for most people, was probably triggered around 2 a.m., maybe 3 a.m. in the morning. So that's when we entered the trade. We actually executed our order probably around 9 or 10 at night after doing the analysis. And that's not unusual. But there's a lot of times where we will enter trades at night for a 0 DTE trade the next day, which, again, is another thing that is completely outside the scope of what any of the other 0 DTE people are doing. They might call that 1 DTE for one day before. And it really isn't, because the ES session actually starts at 6 p.m. the previous day. So we are maximizing our position and the amount of credit, the amount of premium that we can bring in to our trade by doing this. Now, we don't always take trades in the middle of the night while we're sleeping. Often we wait until there's an economic report in the morning. Now, this morning there were none before the market opened. You would have to have waited until 10:30 in the morning to come up with one. So we didn't want to wait that. You give up all that premium. So we put it in, put a hanging order, let the market come down, kind of like a buy the dip while we were asleep, and then took that trade there. And now some people are currently in the trade. Those people who had multiple positions, they got into that trade. They've probably already taken their profit and guaranteed themselves a gain for the day, and now they're letting the rest ride for something that we call a pinned trade. And that looks like what's going to happen today. It looks like we're going to have a pinned trade, and that's where you expire the trade. The trade expires very near the short strikes of our strategy. In this case, it being an unbalanced butterfly. And so there are actually 3 short contracts for each position that we have, where we think that the price will expire somewhere near that, maybe within 5 or 10% of that, allowing us to achieve very close to what the maximum that this particular trade will afford us. And in this case, that is probably somewhere around $700 or so, with an initial cost of, well, maybe about $800, with an initial cost of about $100, $125, around there, approximately. So we're really talking about a 1-part risk to 7, 8, 9 parts reward, or anywhere from 600 to 1,000% return on our capital. And all that time without, very little risk that we put on. Actually, most of us woke up in the morning where we were already in profit and well on our way. And so then others might have practiced an exit strategy where they take part of their position once they've achieved, say, 100 or 200% return, taking that off the table, guaranteeing them a profit no matter what happens, let the rest ride in something that we call a free ride for the potential, and that potential looks very high today, of pinning the trade. We pin trades probably about 15, 20% of the time during low volatility regimes like we're in right now. And when volatility is heightened, in other words, when the VIX is in the mid to upper 20s, we can achieve pin trades, and this has been our experience, almost 30% of the time, or once a week on average. And that's crazy when you think about it, that one day a week that you're in a trade that can return as much as 500, 1,000, 1,500%. And then the rest of the time, we're going for those smaller wins, and we average around 150 to 200% return on our risk per trade. And again, those numbers probably sound crazy, but to us they are normal, where all the other traders that are trading options are biting their nails and chomping at the bit to potentially make 30 or 40% on their risk. We wouldn't even consider a trade that was in that range. So that is, again, another difference between what we do in what everybody else is doing. All right. I got something in my eye, probably my eyeball. All right. So there we are. I have to get back to work here and tend to the members and manage our profits here. I guess that is leading into another thing that we do differently and that we've learned through this continuous improvement process. Because we are dealing with this asymmetry, very small risk to very large reward, we're really not managing our risk, which seems to be like a fundamental that you hear about all the time in options trading or any kind of trading, that you must manage your risk in order to be successful. Yet 90, 95%, maybe even as high as 98% of day traders are not successful managing their risk. Why is that? Why are they told to do something? What I like to say is they're managing their losses. They're trying to figure out how much they're going to lose. Why do they keep on doing that, expecting a different result? What we do is we manage our profits. And as I said, that's what I need to get to here. Start managing our profits. Wouldn't you love to, instead of biting your nails, managing how much you're potentially going to lose or likely going to lose, or sitting back, waking up, being in a trade, and conversing with your friends, watching that and figuring out how you're going to extract the most profit that you're likely to make that day? Big difference. These are all rhetorical questions, obviously. Of course you'd rather trade this way. And again, if you would like to, you can try it out. We have a 4-week trial. Go to 0-dte.com/try, and where you can practice Kaizen with us. All right. Oh, by the way, did you know that Kaizen, it's actually a Japanese word. There are two roots to it, Kai and then Zen. And a lot of you may be familiar with the word Zen as to mean good or abundant or calm or, all of these sort of very positive terms. But Kai means change. So the literal translation of it is good change. And what some people have substituted an alternative translation for that is continuous improvement, which is also good change. You take change and you figure out how to make it better through an agile process. All right, that's it. Gotta go. I want to thank you very much for showing up here. I really appreciate it. Please take the time to go down and smash that like button. I can't tell you how much that means to me if you do that. And we'll see you on Friday. We have this podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Take care. Except that I can never remember or find where I put that off button. Got to move all the windows out of the way. There it is. End stream. Peace to you all. Take care.